In this presentation we'll be looking at what you can do about legal advertising practices in Hampshire. My name is Claire Bradley and I work for Europe Direct Eastleigh. Now Hampshire's a great county. You've got the beauties of the New Forest, you've got big commercial centres like Portsmouth, Southampton, Winchester, Basingstoke, but despite all these advantages there's far too many instances of consumers being tricked by deceptive advertising and other illegal commercial practices in Hampshire. And the aim of this presentation is to highlight to Hampshire consumers the advertising practices which are illegal and what they can do about them if they run across them or fall foul of them. Now, under EU and UK law, the following advertising practices are illegal. Deceptive advertising, and that covers all forms of deceptive advertising. Inertia selling, misleading order forms, giving a misleading impression of consumer rights, what's called bait advertising and also bait and switch, advertising products which cannot legally be sold, advertising prizes which are then not subsequently given out, and it's also illegal, which is a good one to know in the run up to Christmas, to tell kids to nag their parents to get something. You're allowed to market to adults, you're not allowed to market to kids directly and say, nag your parents, get them to buy you X, Y and Z. Now these rules were brought in by the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive, which came out in 2005, and it was implemented into UK law by the Consumer Protection from Unfair Trading Regulations. The Unfair Commercial Practices Directive identified 31 commercial practices that were illegal and automatically unfair, and which no reputable business should be doing. It's also illegal for traders to mislead consumers or to treat them aggressively. And the sanction is a fairly severe one. It's a £5,000 fine and up to 2 years imprisonment, and also the directors of the company can be personally liable. So let's start off with the first one, deceptive advertising. It's a really common problem in Hampshire. You quite often see sort of big posters up saying end of lease sale, everything must go, or sale today only, or best price today only. Deceptive advertising not only covers these, it covers all forms of deceptive advertising. Now the reason why this type of deceptive advertising is banned is because effectively the business is trying to rush people into buying something. If the sale is genuinely for one day, then that's fine, that's not a problem. But if it lasts for 2, 3 days or even longer, then effectively the business is trying to trick the consumer into making a rush sale, and that's why it's against the law. So it's fine to have sales for one day, so long as you keep to the timeline that you've specified, but as soon as you start trying to trick consumers there, you're breaking the law. Inertia selling is another banned practice, and this is where a demand for payment is sent to a consumer when in fact they haven't actually ordered anything. This is usually not a genuine mistake, it's a scam, right? People are trying to effectively trick money out of you. Misleading order forms are a variation on this, and this involves a trader including in marketing material an invoice and a demand for payment, which gives the consumer the impression that they've ordered something when in fact they haven't, and again, that's just a scam. Okay, sanction is the same in all cases, £5,000 fine and up to 2 years imprisonment for the trader concerned. It's also against the law to give a misleading impression of consumer rights. So this is where business tries to pass off rights that you have under EU law, and which apply to everyone, as something that's being offered specifically by the trader to the consumer. So let's take an example. At Rip-Off, we know that having your electrical goods break down during the first 2 years can be a nuisance, so we've created an insurance policy to cover you in this situation. Now, this is wrong because under EU law, you already have the right to have electrical goods which fail in the first 2 years of you buying them, having them replaced or refunded if they break down during that time. So effectively, you're being asked to pay for insurance in order for the trader to do something which they should be doing anyway. So that is an offence if somebody tries that on with you. Okay? So you shouldn't need to take out additional insurance because it's actually one of the trader's obligation in relation to electrical goods anyway. Bait advertising is where a Hampshire trader will try and lure customers with special deals, whereas in fact that deal only applies to a couple of items or even none at all sometimes. It's just there to hook you in, and this is known as bait advertising. Again, that's an offence. Bait and switch is a variation on that. The trader hooks you in with a fantastic offer and then sadly tells you that he's really sorry but they've actually sold out, and then he tries to get you to buy another product which is more expensive, and amazingly enough it's actually available. Now obviously if a trader genuinely runs out of a product, it happens particularly during busy times, then that's fine. But if you're doing this deliberately, then that's a criminal offence. Okay, so in the case of bait and switch, it applies under specific circumstances. So it applies where the trader offers a product at a really good price and then refuses to show the advertised item to consumers, or refuses to take orders for it or deliver it within a reasonable period of time, or demonstrates a defective sample of it with the intention of promoting a different product. So if somebody's hooking you in with a really great deal and then refusing to sell it to you and trying to push you on to buying something more expensive, then they're breaking the law. It's also against the law to advertise products which can't legally be sold. Some products can't be sold in Europe by law, and it's actually a criminal offence if a person gives the impression that goods can legally be sold when in fact they can't. So an example here, buy piranhas straight from the Amazon River online. It's actually illegal to buy piranhas direct from the Amazon River in Europe, so the trader is guilty of a criminal offence. It's also an offence to advertise prizes which are not rewarded. This is completely illegal and a clear breach of the consumer protection from unfair trading regulations. So again, sanction, £5 fine up to 2 years imprisonment. The directors or officers of the company could be prosecuted personally as well as the company itself, and that's a caveat that applies to all of these practices. Finally, it's an offence to tell kids to nag their parents to buy something. Businesses which advertise directly to kids and encourage them to nag their parents to buy the product, which is usually toys or sweets, are breaking the law. Because effectively what they're trying to do is get kids to use pester power so they can increase their sales. It's fine for a business to market to adults, to the parents, say you might want to get this for your kids, but it is completely against the law for a trader to market directly to children and ask them to nag their parents to get a particular product. Now, if you've been subject to any of these practices, you can go to the regulator for help, and your first stop should always be Hampshire Trading Standards, because trading standards officers are under a duty to act under these regulations. Now, Hampshire Trading Standards can be contacted at Montgomery House, Monarch Way, Winchester, SO22 5PW. The phone number is 01962 833 620, and you can also email them at tsadvice@hants.gov.uk. Consumers in Hampshire can get further advice on these regulations by contacting the Citizens Advice Consumer Service, which provides free, confidential and impartial advice on consumer issues including these regulations. And their web address is www.adviceguide.org.uk. If you want to call them, the number is 03 454 040506. You're also welcome, obviously, to contact us at European Law Monitor if you've got any further questions on any of these rules. The rights you have under the Unfair Commercial Practices Directive are really powerful. This was the biggest shake-up in consumer law that we've had for 40 years. And the law gives you the power to fight unfair, misleading or aggressive commercial practices by traders in Hampshire. Now, these practices cost consumers billions of pounds each year, and in most cases you shouldn't need to put up with it because the trader's got far more to lose than you have by carrying on with these types of behaviours, because ultimately they can go to prison or they can end up paying a £5 fine. Right, so if any trader in Hampshire tries this on with you, fight back, because the law is very much on your side. Thank you.